I'd like to welcome you tonight where we're going to discover the science of sleep. And if we look at our sustain me principles, we see that number 3 is sleep. And God designed us to sleep in the night hours. And sleep was never an issue before the electric light. Did you know that? It's never been an issue before. But what's happening with the electric light, and it certainly is happening even more with one step forward with technology, is people are being kept awake when they should be asleep. It's such a distraction and it's such an attraction. But what people don't realise is what it's doing inside their brain. So I'd like to have a look at what happens when we sleep. There's a little tiny gland in the base of our brain called the pineal gland. And the pineal gland sits right at the back of our brain and it releases 4 hormones every night. At the moment in summertime, it's between 10 and 3, and in the winter time, it's between 9 and 2. So how come the hormones are only released in that time? Well, light and dark signals are fed through the optic nerve to a control centre in the brain where our body clock is located. And our body clock communicates with our pineal gland. What are these hormones? One hormone is serotonin, and serotonin is the mood hormone. So if you want to feel good, go to bed early. And we know when the children have late nights, they're not happy chappies, are they? Another hormone is melatonin, and melatonin is called the fix and rejuvenate nighttime hormone. So it's in those hours that healing accelerates. It's in those hours where our bodies recharge, revive. Also, arginine vasotocin. And arginine vasotocin is a hormone that puts us into a deep sleep. So if you want to go into a deep sleep, the earlier you go to bed, the more likely you are to go into a deep sleep. But arginine vasotocin is something else. It's our natural painkiller. Did you know that God gave us our own natural painkiller? So when we go to bed early, our natural painkiller kicks in. But when we use our natural painkiller, it releases a waste after being used. And if that waste still is around the next night, arginine vasotocin is not released. So how do we cause a release of the waste from using arginine vasotocin? Let's move on through our basic laws of health with trust in God right in the middle. And we will get to one of the laws that allows the waste to be released out of the body. We have to get down further to get to this law. It's actually the last law, if you remember it, which is exercise. So when we exercise, we cause a release of perspiration, which we automatically do when we're moving the body. And as that perspiration is released, it releases the waste from using arginine vasotocin. I have a girlfriend who was a nurse. Now, back in the 80s and 90s, nurses used to do all the lifting. And a lot of nurses got very sore backs, painful backs. Today, they have strong men to do the lifting, or in some hospitals, they have like little cranes to lift the people. But a lot of nurses in the 80s and 90s had to retire from nursing because of bad backs. Do you know the biggest bone in the whole of our body is our femur? And the biggest muscle mass in the whole of our body are our quads, which is our thigh muscles. And God made it that way so that we do all our lifting and bending here. Did you realise that? So when we bend and lift, it should be using our strongest muscle. And we can only use it if our back remains straight. If we bend or lift like that, all the strain goes on our lower back. But if we bend and lift like this, all the strain goes here. Remember that. It's time to protect our backs. But my girlfriend, she had quite a major injury. She had it surgery, then she was put on painkillers and basically retired at a very young age. She's only in her 40s. But what's she going to do now? What's the future being on painkillers for the rest of your life? It's not good, because after a while the painkillers actually don't do what they used to do. And then a speaker came to the town that spoke on natural pain management. And he spoke about arginine vasotocin, our natural painkiller that God put in our brain that gets released every night. But he also talked about the importance of exercise. And so he advocated walking for 5 hours a day. 5 kilometres a day. What's that? Now, I quickly worked this out when I was in Rocky Mountains National Park last Saturday afternoon. And when I saw the 2 to Emerald Lake, I thought 2 kilometres. No, it was 2 miles, which is twice as far. So I guess 5 kilometres would be almost 10. And it took her an hour, and little by little, as the weeks went by, her pain levels got less and less, and she was able to come off her pain medication. She had to do 2 things. She had to exercise every day, and she had to go to bed early at night. Because if you go to bed late, of course, you can't access your arginine vasotocin. Something else happened as she exercised. Her muscles and her ligaments and her tendons that are around her injury became strong, and they compensated for the injury. Isn't that interesting? And she also found, and I was looking at this in detail recently, that as the muscles and the tendons and the ligaments around the spine are starting to work, more blood's going into that area, and that blood supply that sits around the bones nourishes the bone, and the bone can actually recover and heal. Isn't that incredible? What an amazing body we have. That's why exercise certainly, last but not least, in the basic laws of health. The 4th hormone is called epithalamin. And epithalamin is a hormone that increases learning capacity. So it's important to go to bed early every night to access your epithalamin, which increases your learning capacity. And as you'll find out over the next couple of days where we talk on the mind, our brain should be getting younger as we get older, and part of that is learning something new every single day. So to allow you to be able to retain and learn new things every day, we need to be going to bed early to get our epithalamin levels. What I found fascinating was adhering to these laws boosts the release of those hormones from our pineal gland every night. Sunshine in the day, remember that initial statement? Light and dark signals are fed through the optic nerve to a control centre in the brain where your body clock is located. Sunshine in the day increases the output of these hormones at night, and sleeping in the dark. When that sun goes down, our body knows it, even if the lights are on inside. And everything starts to slow down when that sun goes down. Water, those hormones need us to be well hydrated to be able to make those hormones. Yes, sleep, go to bed early. Stress inhibits the output of those hormones. Trust in God, cast all your care upon him, says 1 Peter 5:7, for he cares for you. And in Psalm 55 verse 22, the Bible says, cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He will never suffer the righteous to be moved. Abstain from all stimulants. What the research shows now is that coffee in the day cuts the output of those hormones in half for 5 hours. Alcohol inhibits the output by up to 40%. So the stimulants interfere with the output of the hormones at night. Our brain is made up of nerve cells. The pineal gland also has cells that function in there that require oxygen. And we get more oxygen if we inhale and exhale always through the nose. the very part